Welcome to another episode of One on One with Mitch Lafon. Joining me this week from the Dead Daisies is none other than vocalist John Corabi. This episode brought to you by the Heavy Montreal Festival, taking place August 7th, 8th, and 9th in beautiful Parc Jean Drapeau in downtown Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Korn, Faith No More, Slipknot, Warrant, Billy Talent, Iggy Pop, many, many more. And maybe someday we'll have the Dead Daisies and even Firehouse. Bill, welcome back.
Mitch Lafon, thanks again for having me, man. It's a real pleasure to be back on your show. Thanks, brother.
Yes, and for those who don't know, that is Bill Leverty of Firehouse. Just make sure, right, Bill?
Hey, I appreciate the words, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and I'll mention right up the front, folks should head over to leverty.com and check out all the great music you're putting up there for people to download and stuff. There's just a lot of great stuff, especially that last song you put out, Strong. Love it. I love that track.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you saying that. I'm real happy with the way it turned out. Thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So, John Corabi, you got a chance to know him when he was touring with RATT, and of course, before that, he had done the Mötley Crüe stuff, and it's kind of nice to see him in a band situation again here with the Dead Daisies.
Oh, absolutely, and I love that. I haven't heard their latest song, but Midnight Moses, I thought they did just an awesome job with that one. And yeah. John is just, to me, like the perfect guy. He is such an incredible singer. He's an amazing guitar player, and just the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet, and cool at the same time. So he's just got all four bases. He's a slam dunk, home run, rock dude. He is just the coolest guy. So it was a real pleasure seeing him every day and eating lunch with him every day on tour when he was with RATT. And he just brought a real positive vibe everywhere he went. He's just one of those magic people. We all loved him.
Yeah, and we forgot to mention that he's also a great songwriter. I mean, he really comes up with some great material.
Oh, he's awesome. And he does acoustic guitar clinics where he sings and just plays acoustic guitar, which is a really hard thing to pull off all by yourself, nothing to hide behind, but he pulls it off famously and just leaves you needing a jawstrap. The guy is just remarkable.
Yeah, and he's a total road dog these days. Dead Daisies were out earlier this summer in Europe, opening up for Kiss. Now they're currently on the road opening up for Whitesnake. And in between all of that, John finds the time to head out and do solo shows where he's performing the entire Mötley Crüe 1994 album from top to bottom. So the guy just cannot sit still. Always producing stuff. Always basically bringing it to the fans. Gotta love him. Gotta love John.
Yeah, he's the perfect complete artist. I mean, that guy is just, God should have made more of guys like that. But he broke the mold. So it's that's the way it is right there, man. He's a real deal.
Now, was he ever on a cruise with you guys? One of the monster?
Yeah. He comes out on those cruises. Every one of them. He's on them. And we get on him every now and then. But every one that we've been on, he's been on either. Well, I think he does both. His solo acoustic act, he'll get up and jam with everybody, and then he'll do whatever band he's out there with. I think last time we were on there, he was with Cheap Thrill. Yep. Which what a great band, they were, and so he's one of these guys that probably can sing, in the morning, in the noon, in the night, and then in his sleep, and his voice always sounds great. He's just gifted.
Yeah. Now the Dead Daisies' new album is called Revolucion. It is out in Europe already and coming to North America soon, if it's not already here. New video that they just put out after Midnight Moses was Mexico, so folks should go check that out on YouTube. The other fun thing about the Dead Daisies is that they have Marco Mendoza in there, who is just a fantastic bass player, and I have an interview with him coming up next week. Marco has played with Thin Lizzy, like I just said, Whitesnake, and a bunch of others also. So stay tuned and check that out. Shall we check out John right now, Bill?
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
Here is John Corabi. So we're gonna talk Dead Daisies. I have the new album in front of me. I bought it from the UK. Great piece of work.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah, it's, you know what, dude, I gotta be honest with you. Like, this fucking record is like, it's been really crazy, you know, because I've only been in the band like 4 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the fact that we've, you know, gone to Cuba, we did 2 shows, which I believe was, for lack of a better term, my audition with those guys. I went down, I did the 2 shows. They asked me to go to Europe because they already had the Kiss tour planned.
Yep.
And they're like, but we need new product before we go out on tour, because I guess they did an EP like a year and a half ago.
Yep.
And so they're like, we need to get on this. We need to get on it. And we literally went into the studio. They had a couple songs that they started writing with their old singer. But we literally went in and we wrote, recorded, mixed, mastered, and did the artwork for 17 songs in 30 days. And the reviews that we've been getting on the fucking record, it's kind of scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
but I
it's
mean,
pretty funny.
That's the way to do it. I mean, you go back to the early Sabbath and Kiss, they were making albums in 2 weeks or less, right? And
yeah, I mean, well, Zeppelin, you know, it's kind of a known, I mean, Zeppelin did their first record in fucking 24 hours. So, you know, but I mean, at the same time, they also had the opportunity to rehearse and write, and then they went out and they did a bunch of shows, and they came back and they recorded, you know what I mean, whatever. But it's been pretty cool. You know what I mean? It is very old school, but it's pretty cool how it's working out. It's been awesome.
Yeah, it's been great, and like I said, I bought the album, and I'm enjoying it. Songs like "Looking for the One," "Midnight Moses," "Get Up, Get Ready," just
yeah,
it's great music. So, you know, let's get talking about it. So, I have been recording. Can I use what we just said or not? Because that was actually really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, because that was really good. So yeah, you went to Cuba. Let's start there. You know, for 50 years, for basically all of your life and all of my life, no American's been allowed to go to Cuba, and now you're down there doing shows. Tell me about that experience, showing up in the country. What was it like? You know, how were you greeted? Um, you know, what did it mean to you?
You know, to be honest with you, as you know, it's funny. You know, I don't know how old you are, but you know, I'm old enough to vaguely remember, you know, the Kennedy assassination and you know, the Cuban Missile Crisis. I mean, I was very, very young. I was probably 2 years old or whatever when all that shit was going on. But I do vaguely remember it, you know. And the funny thing of it is, you know, like, I hate talking politics, but with the political thing, you know, from that time frame, you know, we've always been led as Americans to believe that Russia, Cuba, you know, all these places are just like these horrible places that, you know, and it's just, you know, they're communists and they, you know, they eat their children and, you know, you're like, and it was weird. It couldn't have been farther from the truth. And not only just Cuba, I mean, I've been to Russia, and the fans in Russia are no different than the fans anywhere else. They just love their fucking music. Unfortunately, a lot of bands don't get over there to play for whether it's political reasons or red tape or whatever it is. But, you know, I've done shows in Russia, and they've been amazing. They're no different than you and I, you know, and like going to Cuba, I was like, you know, first of all, the Dead Daisies had planned this trip, or they had been working on it for the better part of a year.
Right.
So when they told me about it, I was like, yeah, sure, no worries, you know. And I was just curious as a history buff, you know, what it would be like to go there. And to be honest with you, from the minute we walked off the plane, we were greeted. We were greeted by some members of the Cuban government. Their I think it was their minister of arts and music and stuff. And they hung out with us for the whole week, and it was unbelievable. The fans were amazing. The people were amazing. They were just so happy to see us there, and everybody was just greeted us with open arms, and they were just like, God, I hope I hope that your trip here now opens the doors for other American artists to come and do shows here. And they're just starving for it. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because it's 90 miles away from Florida.
Yeah, it is. I mean, L.A. is further than Cuba.
Yeah.
Did you get anything out of it musically? I mean, did you see musicians or styles that you hadn't seen before? Did you meet anybody that inspired? I mean, musically, did you pick up anything?
Yeah, it was weird. Like, what our full intention was to go down and do a couple of shows, and our full intention was also during the shows to have some Cuban musicians come in and sit in with us.
Right.
And not only was it the Dead Daisies, but we also brought down Bernard Fowler and Daryl Jones from the Stones, so they came with us, just to make it more like even more of an event, like more of a festive kind of jam thing. And we went into a recording studio and we started rehearsing and we started working things up. Now, you have to take into consideration too, this is the first time I played a note of music with the guys.
That's right.
So we were all getting acquainted with each other and we started working up a set, and we did a bunch of covers as well, stuff that people would recognize. And we started bringing in some of these. We had a, guy played saxophone, amazing. We had a couple of, we had 3 singers, 2 percussionists. We just had all these different musicians come in, and we're like, okay, you 2 guys, we're going to do All Right Now. You do the first verse, you sing the second verse, I'll sing the third verse and the choruses, and let's just have fun with it. And it was a blast. It was amazing. The fans came out of the woodwork. I mean, they were literally driving from, 8 or 9 hours away, the very top of the island, from all over Cuba. They came for both shows we did. And it was just a great time, man. We went to, at one point, we went to a music school. I didn't really have, obviously, I consider myself a pretty decent guitar player, but not on the level of like a Richard Fortas or Marco Mendoza, that kind of thing. Brian Tishy was with us. So we basically went in, we met all these kids. They got to ask us questions, via a translator. And then Marco, Brian, and Richard and everybody, we just kind of, Daryl Jones, we all got up and just jammed with these kids in this music school. And it was fucking brilliant. It was amazing. Like they were doing all this crazy jazz shit and salsa stuff. And it was really, really cool. You know what I mean? And the one thing I took out of it was like the Cuban people, for as whatever their politics are, it's funny, like it's simple things. Like obviously a majority of American products, like guitar strings, guitar jacks, all that accessory shit, even guitars in itself. They don't get anything through America. So there was a lot of things that they didn't have. So bass strings, guitar strings, because of the embargoes between the 2 countries, strings down there are like, you can't find them. Like a box of fucking strings, a box of guitar strings down there would be like, might as well walk through downtown Manhattan with a handful of diamonds in your hand. But it doesn't deter them from loving their music and doing their thing. You know what I mean? There's like, they don't care. It's like, they'll send $50 or $60 in an envelope to a relative in America, buy a box of strings, and then send them over. Like that's how they have to get their strings.
Wow.
And hopefully America and Cuba will sit down and talk at a table and they'll lift some of that stuff, at least for the musicians down there. You know what I mean? Lift some of that thing so that A, other musicians can go down and play, and B, it'll be a little easier for the musicians that are there to do the things that they want to do, man. It was pretty intense. But it was a fucking great experience. Yeah. It was really cool.
Sounds very sort of spiritually uplifting to have gotten to live that.
Yeah, and it's weird, like going to other places. I mean, I've been to places like India and, just other places that aren't as fortunate as we are. And it really kind of makes you sit down and go, yeah, you know what? I don't fucking have it that bad. You know what I mean? I have it pretty fucking posh, to be honest with you. You know, we've got internet, we've got, you know, like how many different cell phone carriers and just different things like that we take for granted, that they're kind of, you know, they're a little behind us with some of those things. But God, they just have a great gusto for life, man. It's really cool.
It's good to see. Now, the Dead Daisies, like you said, you're new to the band. You're only 4 or 5 months in. Is this a band you want to be a part of, or is just you did the one album and now you're back to going to do John stuff? I mean, sort of what's your future with the Dead Daisies?
Well, you know, to be honest with you, I've been having a great time with the guys. You know, again, I'm kind of the last guy on board with them, so I don't know how they operate. I'm still trying to figure it out. You know, all I know is that I got asked to do this record and these tours with them, and I'll do it as long as they'll have me. As far as like me and my solo career, I have no intentions of giving anything up. Like, it's funny, I just read Rod Stewart's autobiography, and in his autobiography, he basically explains that he got a record deal on his own, and then right afterwards he joined the Faces, and they had a record deal, so he just kind of did both.
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, as long as my manager, Larry Morand, and as long as Dead Daisies manager, David Edwards, can keep an open path of communication and, you know, make it pretty clear, like, okay, we're going to work from here to here, and then John's got 2 months or 3 months here from here to here. I don't see any reason why I can't do both. So I have no intentions of giving up my solo career. I'm having a blast doing that. I'm, you know, the fact that I can travel the world and do shows and stuff with my son on the drums is just fucking amazing to me. So
how cool is that?
I love it. Yeah, it's pretty badass.
And of course, the results with the Dead Daisies, with you as the vocalist, speak for themselves. So hopefully you can keep doing both. You did the Mötley Crüe 20th anniversary tour where you went out and did the whole album. How was that for you, the experience? Was it sort of bittersweet, you know, not getting to do it with the guys but having the fans come out and go, man, we love this album. It took 20 years for a lot of us to
I'm still doing it. I mean, I'm actually, oddly enough, I'm leaving tomorrow morning. I've got a show. I'm playing in Vegas. I'm playing the Whiskey, and then I'm playing in San Jose this weekend with my band. And that's exactly what we're doing. So the demand is still there. I'm still getting offers to do that. You know, so I'm still doing those shows, and it really has been funny. I mean, you know, it's pretty much common knowledge that the tour that I did with Mötley wasn't the greatest, as far as ticket sales go, nope. Record sales. So, you know, I'm not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. We only toured for maybe 3 months in America. We never played a note of music in Canada.
Nope.
I think as far south that we went was we did one show in Mexico City and one in Monterrey, Mexico. The rest of the shows were, you know, it was hit or miss in America. We'd have some shows that were great and then other shows that were just, it was like a bloodbath. But, you know, we did those things and we did it as long as we could. And then we put the plug in the dam and we went home and started working on Generation Swine. But I think that record has kind of, you know, I hate to say cult following or whatever, but there's a lot of people that have heard that record now since, and they've realized that Mötley will never play any of that material.
Which is too bad.
Well, that's their choice, you know, whatever. I have no opinion on that either way. You know what I mean? That's what they choose to do. That's fine.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
My manager's the one that said, you know what? They're knocking everything on the head. And I didn't even realize it was the 20th anniversary. But he said, I think you should go out and do some of those shows. I think there'd be people that would appreciate it. And so I started doing a few, but it's really been picking up a lot of steam. Like the first few shows was like, well, is he doing the whole record or like what, you know? But then as soon as it got out there that I was doing the entire record, it's been really picking up. And like I said, I'm doing this weekend. I've got another weekend in a couple of weeks. But now, especially Europe has kind of opened their eyes and gone, oh, wait, is he doing that whole record?
Yeah.
You know, we wanted to come here as well. So I'm going to do it as long as I can. But it's funny. I'm like, in the meantime, I'm doing Dead Daisies. I'm doing the Motley 94 shows. My manager's gone, we need an electric solo record. So I'm doing that. And then, you know, Mick Mars has been calling me going, hey, you know, I want to do some stuff with you for my solo record. So I'm like, fuck.
Well, hey.
I'm busy.
And I did want to ask you about that with Mick Mars. So they're doing the final tour. They're not calling it a farewell tour, sort of a final tour. What is the plan with Mick? Is it his solo album and you'll do a couple of spots on it, or are you two really collaborating on songs?
You know what, Mick actually moved to Nashville a couple years ago, and we talked. We finally had a chance to like really kind of air some things out, and a majority of it was things I didn't know and things he didn't know, and you know, regardless, Mick just said, which was very cool for me hearing it from Mick, but he's like, I've always loved that record that we did. And I'm doing a solo record, and I would love for you to be a part of it. I don't know how much of a part of it I'm going to be.
Okay.
But he did ask me to help him, and if it's one song or 10 songs, whatever, as long as I have time for it and I can help, I told Mick I will do anything I can to help him out, because I just, you know, without sounding like I have a man crush,
Right.
I adore Mick Mars. I would do anything for that man. I think he's just an incredibly underrated guitar player.
Absolutely.
And I just think he's an all around nice guy. You know what I mean? I'm like, fuck, anything I can do to help, just let me know. So
do you think
we'll see?
Yeah, we'll see. Do you think the Motley album would have done better under a different name?
I do. And, you know, but at the end of the day, like it's really hilarious because, you know, there's so many people out there that go, you should, you know, even the fans, like, and I don't disagree with them. They all say that album would have been massive if it was any other name but Motley.
Right. Yeah.
The problem of it is the band wanted to change the name. We were thinking of other names to call the band.
Such as?
You know, well, there was a lot of different things. You know, there was one called, you know, NC, like New Crew. You know, they were thinking of other names like, you know, Nicky was tossing around. He had always wanted to call a band Christmas, you know, so he was thinking of this. The problem of it is that all of the people that were involved with the band,
the record company,
you know,
the lawyers.
Record company, lawyers, agents, managers, like everybody that was getting a commission was panicking because they saw that if Motley changed the name, Motley wasn't going to be going out making $200,000 or $250,000 a night or $300,000, whatever they were making, and they were going to have to come back down to earth and start probably, you know, maybe in theaters for a lot less money. So everybody saw their commission dwindle.
Right.
And they were the ones that talked us back into it. They're like, you guys are fucking Mötley Crüe. You can't do this. You just signed a huge record deal. And so they talked us out of it. And then, you know, it was like this two-part thing. Well, the record didn't work. So what was different? Okay. It was the singer. So it's obviously his fault, and we probably shouldn't have called it Mötley Crüe. You probably shouldn't have called it Mötley Crüe. So, you know, I was just sitting there like, the fuck? We didn't want to call it Mötley Crüe to begin with. You know what I mean? So it is what it is.
It is.
I can't, like I tell everybody, like I constantly try to look forward. I don't like looking backwards because I could sit here, I could probably rewrite every one of those songs and make them different or better. I could probably sit here and play Monday morning quarterback for months or years and figure out everything that we did or didn't do wrong. And you know what I mean? It doesn't change anything. It's already happened. So I'm just moving forward.
Yeah, as you should. But I will take you back on one more thing, though. Your experience with the band RATT. You were with them for a few years. How was that in terms of playing and in terms of getting out there? Was it a good time, or was it just, wow, this is really dysfunctional? I'm just getting a paycheck and let's hope this ends soon. How was the experience for you?
Well, I mean, again, common knowledge. Anybody that reads about RATT knows that they are somewhat dysfunctional.
Right.
I love them all to death. I mean, you know, Steven just wrote to me, you know, which is weird. He always writes to me for my birthday, Christmas, Father's Day, like everything. I love Steven. I love Bobby. I love Warren. I love Juan, Carlos, Robbie Crane. I love them all. But they are, for some apparent reason, those guys are very dysfunctional. Mm-hmm. They always have been. The thing with me is, like, I got into RATT, and this is going to sound probably very weird for some of your readers, but I got into RATT. I basically took a break.
Right.
And when I say a break, like, I had done the Scream, I had done Motley, and I had done Union at that point. And all those bands, I was like, I don't want to say I was the guy, but I was involved in all business aspects. You know, we're constantly sitting there going, how many records we sell this week? How many tickets we sell? How many T-shirts? And I was tired of it. Like, the business part of it was kind of like, I need to step away from this for a minute.
Right. You didn't want the responsibility. You wanted the paycheck, but without all the responsibility. That seems reasonable.
It was a way for me to just just still continue to do what I love doing, which is playing music,
right?
But not have to worry about all the shit that everybody worries about when they do a record, like a band. You know what I mean? I was just a hired guy. I was just talking about this to my wife today. It was quite a relief to just know that I was leaving on Monday, and every Friday I would get a paycheck from RATT, and I was still doing what I love to do. And it's funny, my wife owns a hair salon in Nashville, and sometimes she just pulls her fucking hair out because it's her shop. She has to worry about everything from the electric bill, the water bill, like all the stuff. And sometimes she goes, God, sometimes I wish I could just sell my shop and just go work in a salon where she didn't have to worry about all those things. And I was just talking to her about it a couple of hours ago. I said, that's exactly what I did with RATT.
Yeah.
I'm still doing what I love to do, but I wasn't worrying about all of the bullshit that you have to worry about when you're your own boss. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and did that recharge your energy, like recharge the batteries for you to get out there and want to do your own thing again? Did you need that sort of 2-3? How long were you in RATT exactly? 4 years?
I was in there for almost. I joined in 2000 and I left in 2008.
Okay, so yeah, because I saw a bunch of shows that you had done with Jizzy Pearl, and then Steven came back,
and there for a while in the very beginning, I was doing both RATT and Union. I was still doing shows with Union, like in South America, Europe, and stuff like that, when RATT had time off. But it just kind of got to the point, and you know, I've gone through a couple of weird things. You know what I mean? Like, there was that period where, you know, Union. I really thought Union was a great band. I thought we had great songs, but for some reason, there was a disconnect between our live shows, which we were drawing great crowds, and they had all this, you know, adulation for the band, you know, but then there was a disconnect where I'm like, how many records did we sell? And it's like, nothing. You know what I mean? So I kind of did the RATT thing. And then there was another period where, probably about 2 years into RATT, I did a show in Iowa, and I had another little thing where I had to kind of get a little introspective for a moment. But we did a show in Des Moines, Iowa, and it was Dokken, RATT, Warrant, LA Guns, and Firehouse.
Right.
And we did this outdoor festival. And, God, I can't remember what town. It was a place called Dubuque, Iowa.
Right.
And there used to be a club there called the Pig Pen. They had an indoor bar. In the winter, they would have shows inside. In the summer, they had this huge parking lot in the back, and they had an area that held probably about 4,000 or 5,000 people. And so we're doing this summer tour, and I literally went out, I got off the bus, and I walked out, and Firehouse was getting ready to go on, and I was looking around, and I'm going, there is nobody fucking here. Nobody. And Firehouse went on, and there was about 20 people. And then LA Guns went on, and there was a little bit more. And then Warrant went on, and there was a little bit more. And I think when RATT went on, there was maybe, I think by the end of the night, there was maybe a couple of hundred people. But I'm talking about an area that held 5,000. So there was nobody there.
Right.
And I just sat there, and again, I mean, no disrespect to any of the bands, but I just sat there, and I'm like, I looked at all the members of the band, and believe me, we all have little quirks and idiosyncrasies, whatever. But I was just sitting there looking at everybody going, you know, it's really weird. 10 years ago, any one of these bands would have sold this out in a matter of hours.
Right.
Now there's 5 of us, and I was just sitting there, and I'm going, nobody gives a fuck about this kind of music anymore. Nobody. And I just sat there, and I'm like, am I ever going to, like, I just started thinking, like, am I ever going to get myself back to a point where I'm doing something substantial?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't want to be a guy. I mean, mind you, I'm going out right now and I'm doing the Motley 94 thing. So it is a bit nostalgic, but I'm still doing records. I'm still doing acoustic records, and I'm still doing an electric record, and I just did the Dead Daisies thing. So I'm still contributing to new material.
Right.
But I just sat there and I'm like, I do not want to be a nostalgic act. I don't want, like, I didn't like the position that any of those bands were in. And I just kind of had to sit for a minute, and I kind of had to talk myself off the ledge, because at that point, this was probably 2003 or so. I was just gonna quit. I was just like, fuck it. I'll just go be a rep for like Gibson Guitars or something like that, whatever. But I don't want to do this. I know I don't want to do what these 5 bands are doing right now.
Right.
And it was a weird, it took me a moment to kind of change my headspace for a bit. So,
but that was the epiphany. That's the one that where you just woke up and went, "Oh, wow, what am I doing here?"
Yeah, like I'm a true believer, man. Like nobody should ever overstay their welcome. Like that's why people ask me now about the Motley thing. Like, do you agree about Motley calling it a day? And I'm like, you know what? Only those guys know what they're doing. Yep. You know what I mean, or why they're doing what they're doing. But if I was Mötley Crüe, I would be doing this too. I would be going out with a bang, on top, you know, still having millions of people come and see them, still enjoying the band. And so for that, I think they're doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Instead of overstaying their welcome.
I fully agree, because to me, Mötley Crüe is an arena act, and at some point, numbers are going to start dwindling, and I don't want to go see Mötley Crüe in my local bar for 300 people in 10 years. So they go out on top. That's the way true champions always go out on top. So good for them.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But I mean, I had to kind of sit down and go, like, I had to get away from everything that I was thinking in 2003. And I sat and I talked to some people, and, you know, and then even some outside people, they were like, you know, there are people out there that give a shit about your music and what you can contribute. And, you know, and then I just had to go, you know what, this is what I was put on earth to do. This is what I'm good at. So, you know what, win, lose, or draw, just keep writing great music. Just keep throwing it against the wall. and hopefully someday something will stick, and you know what I mean?
Yep.
You'll have your moment. So
you've had
we'll see. You know what I mean?
Great career. And I'll ask you two last questions real quick. As we both get older, because I'm also a child of the 60s, how's your voice holding up? Do you have to do different preparations to get into a show, or you're just an iron horse and everything is as it should be?
No, I don't. Look, I was just talking to somebody about this too, but my singing thing, like, I have certain things that I do. I do try to, like, in the afternoon, I'll get a hot shower and I'll steam up, and I'll do some vocal exercises in the shower and while I'm getting ready, and then I'll do some before I go on. And the one thing that I do try to do, I don't even try to do, I do. I do not have a drop of alcohol until after I'm done.
Right.
And then even then after, if I know I'm doing 3 shows in a row, I'm not going to stay up till 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning getting shit-faced drunk, falling down, and whatever. You know what I mean? Now, if I have a day off, all gloves are off. But I do try to baby myself a little bit.
Right.
But it's just, to me, that's just common sense shit. Like, I don't want to go on stage and be drunk and, not singing in key or forgetting lyrics or whatever. I don't want to be that guy. So I just, I just make sure that I don't have a drop of alcohol before I go on. And I do try to warm up a little bit before and warm down a little bit after.
Right.
But I also find the more that I sing, the stronger my voice gets, because it's, to me, your voice is no different than any other muscle in your body. The more you use it, the more in tune it's going to be. So, I am a bit of I do like to work. So, like I said, I just got back 2 or 3 days ago from, a month in Europe with KISS. And here I am a weekend later, and I'm getting ready to leave tomorrow for 3 shows with my band, and I'll be doing that right up until I leave to go to New York and rehearse with Dead Daisies again with Whitesnake. So,
that's going to be a great tour with Whitesnake. And then I'll just finish with this. For a little Canadian content, you've done a bunch of shows with Killer Dwarfs frontman Russ Dwarf. Any words about Russ and what it's like being on the road with him?
Russ is a very interesting character. I love him to death. He's funnier than shit.
Yeah.
He's got his fucking dry sense of humor. And I tortured him the last time I was up there because apparently Russ is not into and I don't know about sports, so I don't want to say sports.
No, he hates all sports. I guarantee it. I know Russ well. He hates hockey, hates football, hates baseball, hates golf.
Yeah. So when we were doing some acoustic shows, and I got into the car, we were in Toronto and we were going to Ottawa.
Right.
And I insisted, because it's Sunday, I'm born and raised in Philadelphia. I love the NFL. I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. So I go, I need to listen to the game. So we plugged my phone into the stereo in the car, and I found the game on my phone somehow, and I just, and we listened to the game the whole way out. And
he must have.
I forget who was in the car. Fucking Russ was just miserable the whole time. He's like, I don't even like foosball. Turn the foosball off. I'm like, just go back to reading your fucking Canadian, go back to reading, the stock exchange and leave me the fuck alone. Anyway, but I love those guys to death. They're great dudes, all of them.
Yeah, they really are. And that you nailed Russ right on the nail, right on the head right there. John, always a pleasure. Loving the new Dead Daisies, Revolution or Revolucion, whatever you want to call it. Great album.
Revolution. Yeah, thank you, buddy.
Really, it's a home run. So I'm glad you're making new music. We need it.
That's cool, buddy. And hopefully I'll see you guys soon. Maybe we can, whether it's the Motley 94 thing, my solo thing, or Dead Daisies, hopefully we can get back up into your neck of the woods and do some more shows.
Yeah, I'd love it, because you had that show in Ottawa that you just mentioned, and that was a week before I was going in for heart surgery. So I actually missed the show, and I need to see it because it's a great album. It's a much maligned album, but I'm glad that you're keeping the spirit alive and playing it. And I got to go see it. Got to go see it.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll stay in touch. I'll let you know when we get back up there again.
Great. Thank you, John.
All right, buddy. Be good.
Bye-bye now. There you have it, my interview with John Corabi of the Dead Daisies. John, of course, having played with Mötley Crüe and RATT before that. For those of you who are not too familiar with the Dead Daisies, they are made up of Richard Fortus of Guns N' Roses, Marco Mendoza, formerly of Thin Lizzy and Whitesnake, Brian Tishy, and of course Dizzy Reed, who is also in Guns N' Roses. New album is called Revolucion. It is a great sort of old-time 1970s sort of classic rock sound. You gotta love it. And there's a singer on there that makes a guest appearance, a bill that you might be familiar with, Jimmy Barnes, the great Australian singer.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I heard about Jimmy Barnes was when we were touring with Tesla. Their sound engineer, a guy named Laurie Quigley, who's an Australian guy, used to EQ the PA with Jimmy Barnes tunes. And I walked up to him, I said, "Who is that?" He goes, "Oh, you don't know Jimmy Barnes? Oh, laddie, you gotta get a hold of some Jimmy Barnes." And what a monster he is. And it's just it's so cool to have a guy like that who's a legend on this Dead Daisies album, which is a super group of, in my opinion, all top shelf phenomenal musicians. I mean, that's a show I'd love to see, man. And I know the album's awesome.
Yeah, and Dizzy, Dizzy has been with Guns N' Roses since I think 91 or 92. Totally underrated keyboard player, piano player. Just a fantastic talent. And Marco Mendoza on bass. I mean, really? Can you get any better than that on bass?
No, I mean he's a phenom, and so is Titchy, and hey man, it's and of course John. I mean, every time I've seen John sing, and it's been a lot because we were out with him for 4 months with RATT, and he sang a lot of the high stuff. I guess most of the high stuff, and I've seen him do his solo gigs, and I've seen him do other gigs, and he always sounds so good. I mean, the guy's just got the coolest voice and the personality to go with it. I mean, it's just a really cool guy, man. I'm glad he's got this gig. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, towards the end of the interview, he mentioned a friend of yours and mine, Russ Dwarf of the Killer Dwarfs.
Oh, cool.
You gotta love that. Russ, always an entertaining presence in a room. And of course, I'll keep mentioning it. He did a great version with you of Deuce. In fact, well, you did the version of Deuce, but he came and did some backing vocals on it on that Kiss tribute. And wow, if you haven't checked it out, head over to iTunes or YouTube or whatever. But check out Bill Leverty doing Deuce with Russ Dwarf doing backing vocals. It's a dessert for the ears. Is that how you could call it?
Well, it was a real honor to thank you for having me on that, and thanks to Russ for getting in there and singing the Paul parts and just being on a recording with Russ Dwarf was awesome. Yeah. Not to mention the other guys you hooked me up with, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Bill, always a pleasure having you on and doing this with me. You just came back from a couple of shows out in Nebraska and Ohio. Those must have been great. Too bad I wasn't there.
Yeah, they were great. We got to play with Dokken both nights. We got to play with Jack Russell's Great White one night and Trickster the other night. So it's been great to catch up with all our buds and all those bands and all our fans out there. And looking forward to this next gig up in the Great White North summertime up there in Ontario. So that's going to be cool, man. I hear that
I will
there's
be
a guy
at
named Mitch Lafon that might be showing up.
I will be at that one. That'll be fun. Voyager Days out in Mattawa, Ontario. So listen, it's going to be a fun-filled afternoon. You've got Vixen, you've got Trooper, yes, the Canadian Trooper from the 70s, Firehouse, and of course Paul Rogers of Bad Company. That is a day of entertainment right there.
Yeah, it's we're really happy to be able to be on there with all those bands, and then to be able to share a bill with a legend like Paul Rogers is just going to be a real education. So
yeah, absolutely.
I've got my selfie stick I'm taking there, so I'm trying to get a picture with him.
That'll be funny. That'll be fun. And of course, we'll have to take a picture so we can put it up as the co-hosting picture for the one-on-one
Oh,
thing.
that'd be awesome. Yeah.
You mentioned Trixter, by the way. I just want to mention they have a new album called Human Era that came out.
Oh, it's great, too. It is a great album.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah, it is really good. I mean, they've always been a great band, but I'll tell you what, they really did it this time with this album. This is really, really great work.
It's one of those rare albums. You look back at some of the heritage bands or classic bands, whatever you want to call Trixter and Firehouse and Warren, whatever you want to call them. A lot of the bands had their best album back in the day. And you guys, you keep putting out great music, and Trixter, they've just gotten better with age.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what, their last two albums have been awesome. Anybody out there who wants to hear a great couple of records, get their last two albums. I mean, their old ones are good, really good too. I mean, they're great.
Oh, absolutely agreed.
But the new stuff is they keep growing as artists. And they keep putting out really good work, and I'm really happy for them. I love those guys.
Yeah, they've got a great sense of purpose. What I was trying to say is that a lot of bands, they have their high, and then there's a twilight, but there's no twilight with Trixter. They're just still reaching for the sky, and that's just rarefied air at this point. I mean, it really is great stuff.
They're great musicians. They're great writers, and they record really good material.
Yep.
And hey, they play it real well live. So if you see them live, go out and check them out. They're a great band.
Yeah, and of course, head over to Mattawa, Ontario, and check out Firehouse with Vixen and Trooper and Paul Rogers. That's going to be a fun little gig there too.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you there, man.
Yeah, Bill, always a pleasure. Looking forward to doing more co-hosting spots with you, and we'll end this one by reminding the folks about the Heavy Montreal Festival taking place August 7th, 8th, and 9th at Parc Jean Drapeau in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Korn, Slipknot, Faith No More, and of course for 80s fans, Lita Ford, Warrant, Dokken, which of course you just played with, and Extreme. There you go.
That sounds like a great gig, great time for the whole family to go out and have a good little rock show.
Yep.
With a lot of cool bands.
3 days.
Thanks so much
Russ.
again for having me, Mitch. I appreciate it so much, brother.
Thank you. Cheers.
See ya.